We are doing another podcast today with Clare Jones, my former student, but we have been in touch for a long time. So we became friends, and we do lots of other things, community work, social work, political activism. We want to change the world. It's tough, isn't it? So the plan is just discuss, talk. It's our talk therapy. So this podcast is about my talk therapy as well. So if people can learn from some of our stories, our struggles, will be good, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So basically, we'll try to interview each other, and then so I'll ask the first question to Claire. Born and raised.
Okay, so I was born in London, and my parents were both military background.
Oh my God.
So we moved around a lot. I went to lots of different schools and had to make friends like quite quickly. And so you had to become quite resilient to, making friends and just being in new environments all the time. So me and my sister were obviously part of that. So we became quite, close. So we've always had a really good relationship with each other. And she really helps me a lot in my life.
Any particular place you really, cherish that memory being there?
Yeah, so we actually lived in Holland for 4 years. So living in another country, it was a really good experience. Really enjoyed living there. I had lots of good memories. And we got to travel around, Europe as well, because we were, able to cross different borders and things like that. So yeah, I enjoyed that part of my life.
Did your parents serve any particular war you can remember?
My dad was in the Falklands, so he went away.
Okay.
But so he was there, and we still obviously have that territory.
So the Falkland happens before you were born, isn't it?
So it was, 1982 was the Falklands War, so that was when I was actually born in 1982, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I missed that.
I mean, same with me. The country I was born in, Bangladesh. So Bangladesh got independence in 1971. So also that's my kind of, coincided with when I was born, and then, so there's not much memory. But my parents told me later that, I was very fearful child. I was really afraid, always, crying and screaming, because obviously it's like war situation. So, good for me. I didn't have any visual memories. So throughout my life, I've been quite anti-war kind of guy. So, it's a terrible, terrible thing to go through if your country is in war, or your community is in war. I saw my parents still had those memories. And I think one of the worst memory of the war is my dad was actually abducted by the army, the Pakistani army.
Oh my goodness.
And then they took him to because Bangladesh is full of rivers. So my city is just next door, is a big river there, and he was taken to a gunboat. It's a small warship. It's basically a petrol ship. And at one point, the military decided that just shoot this guy.
Oh my goodness.
So instead of shooting him, what they did, they hit him with the butt of the gun
Rifle.
In his head, and then he actually fell over from the gunboat on the river.
Oh my goodness. How did he survive that?
So sorry, my mom is here.
That's okay.
So so I think she picked up some coffee. I'll just give me 2 seconds.
No, that's okay.
My mom has had her second vaccine last week.
Oh, that's good.
So my sister was taking care of her for last 1 year. So we kind of share her responsibility. So because my sister was really tired after, yes, my mom is close to 80 years old, so she's quite temperamental. She still thinks that, we have to listen to her, though we are over 50 years old,
I I know that's what it's hard to live with your parents, isn't it? Again,
Yeah,
because it's like, yeah, they think you're still their child, or but you've got obviously your own children now as well.
yeah.
So
So that's
like
that's the
that.
kind of, I think when you grow beyond 70, this like cycle of life, suddenly,
Mhm.
I think we watched this film called Father, isn't it?
Yeah,
With Anthony Hopkins. He got Oscar for this. He
he
was
was brilliant
he
actor.
was good.
Yeah.
He was really good. I mean, I think it's
Uh-huh.
such a method actor, so it has to be by someone like, him or
Hmm.
like Daniel Day-Lewis, who can really deliver this kind of acting. Um,
Yeah, I love seeing it from another perspective. It's really scary.
I
Like
mean,
how trauma.
though I watched another film which is called Sound of Metal. Riz Ahmed was there, so he also got an Oscar nomination. But when I
Oh, it looks.
compared these two, I mean, because Riz Ahmed is the first Muslim, with like diverse background, actually vying for
Uh-huh.
the main Oscar lead role award. So I was quite excited. But when I
Yeah.
watched the both films, I thought Anthony Hopkins was no, it's too good. It's still
Mm.
too good. I mean, um, but I mean, Riz Ahmed is obviously very very good. So obviously he has got lots of years in front of him.
Uh-huh.
So he will eventually win. He's such a good actor. But I think Anthony Hopkins was just brilliant. So I mean, I can relate some of the things like my mom is like sometimes I don't know like whether it's like uh, her kind of like forgetfulness. She just forgets things.
Yeah, I think so.
Uh, and then she does like lots of charities herself.
Oh, oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like more like, our community. So the people,
Hmm.
who lost someone, or like, or my extended family in Bangladesh. So my mom has got her own network. So my mom has got
Oh.
like 4 or 5 phones, so she picks up phone all the time.
Is actually better with charity. Than the Western world, definitely. I mean, I
Yeah.
found that
So
in
like, I mean, my position is like, from a Marxist background, so I don't have any control for those things. So my mom can decide whatever she wants to do because this is her thing, her asset. So she's like less worried about, her grandchildren. So she's more worried about the other children.
Okay.
Because for some reason, my mom thinks that our children will be fine.
Yeah, they will be, I'm sure.
So
But we're lucky.
I don't know
Um,
about that, but I think what she does, we don't say yes or no. This is her choice. Whatever she makes, it's fine.
she's
So
keeping herself busy. That's good.
so like my dad in 1971. So going back to that story, so he was hit in his head by this rifle butt, and basically he fell over from that gunboat or this gunship,
Uh-huh.
and basically, I mean, my dad thought that that's the end. Basically, no, he's gone. So he lost his conscious. So he became unconscious, and then he was in the river. And it's like one of those like funny moment in your life. Uh, Things happen, and he was picked up by this fisherman from the
Oh,
river,
wow.
an unconscious man.
Wow. And then he
And
survived.
he
Does he remember
survived.
it?
He survived,
Hmm.
yeah, but he could not remember that, what happened, after he fell over.
Yeah.
So he died in 1997. So he got another, I think, 27 years to live.
And how did that affect him? Did he
I
speak
don't
about it?
no, no, no. But
No.
I mean, my dad never talked to me about that thing. But we all knew about this thing. But I
Hmm.
think part of that, I mean, I think affected him personally.
Oh,
So obviously he had, because in those days, PTSD and this kind of things, the psychological effect of war or this extreme
definitely.
trauma, obviously it affected him during the war. So that happened in the beginning of the war and throughout the war, the rest of the war time. So it's for 12 months almost. And basically he was always fearful. Every time he hears about, the army is coming, the Pakistani army is coming, He always
Yeah.
fled, left his family behind. He didn't care about his family. He just
Just
fled. And then he came back after 3 days. No.
I've done something similar. Like there's been a big spider in the bath when I was little with Aiden in the bath. I just jumped out and left him in there. So I don't know. I don't know the trauma. Like, and if you're really scared, I don't know if you think straight. Obviously, like
I mean, I've watched this like very one of the best films I've ever watched. It's something with like Avalanche, but it's a family's personal. A small event happened and how it affected the whole family. So basically, this family went for this ski holiday, and so the family with the two kids and the husband wife all sitting together and having their breakfast in the morning in that ski resort. And in the ski resort, what happens? Like every now and then, they try to kind of demolish the snow pile of snow to make it flatten or like whatever it is. So that's quite normal, and it creates some kind of small controlled avalanche. So that's okay, nothing to worry about. So they were sitting there, and then this avalanche is coming towards them, and first they thought that it's just a controlled kind of avalanche, but it gets bigger and bigger. It's coming really close to them, and suddenly the dad, he just fled. Leaving his two children and wife sitting there, and it was actually a controlled avalanche, but it came up to that the hotel. And then it hit them, but not like no one was injured. But so once dad came back, and then the wife stopped talking to him for the rest of the film. So the film is all about that part. Why did he flee?
yeah.
Why did he not take care of his family?
What was his reason? Did he have any reason for doing
No,
that?
I mean, that's the whole point about this film. No, he said that I don't know why I did that. It just on that spur of the moment, he decided that he'll run. So
Yeah, that's true.
I can sense that, like, why my father just fled, leaving his family. He didn't care about his
Yeah.
family. But I think that particular trauma, but the film did not explore that any particular other trauma affected that
Okay.
actors, that person's, that particular response.
Yeah, no, which would be interesting, I suppose.
So the whole film, I'm not telling the whole story. I'm not giving the spoiler, but there are more twists there. I quite like this
Yeah.
film, but it kind of reminds me my dad's kind of behavior. Yeah.
I mean, you just know, like, I mean, war just travels down through generations. You look at Northern Ireland as well. People are still affected by what's happened.
I think it affected his subsequent, years as well. So my father was very, very kind of like close person. He became quiet, but he was reading a lot. He was reading a lot. So that's one of the things he did for me. I mean, so that made me also read a lot. Even
So
though
there was no help for like PTSD at all in those days.
no, obviously not. I mean, my father never gone through any kind of things like that. So, but I think he tried to find peace through his children, their success. So, like my big sister became a judge. My next sister became a doctor. I became whatever I am. But also I think the good thing is that lots of books were coming in the house. So like my big sister went to university. So the first from our family, extended family, went to the university. And then she was also bringing lots of books. And my big sister was a good singer as well. She used to sing. Still very, very beautiful voice, soulful voice. But she loved poetry, so we had lots of books of poetry. So that played a big role in my upbringing as well. So literature, poetry, art, culture, those things still play a big role in my own life. So that's my small story. So I cut it short to tell my story.
I mean, I was always reading. My grandma, she was a teacher at school, but she was like a kind of like a helper teacher. So she would like help me with my spelling, and I was always like got my head in a book, and I think I learned a lot from books, about politics, about the world, about sadness, about war. I read one of the books I read was Anne Frank's diary, like when I was quite young, and my mom was like unsure whether I should be reading it or not. But I think that's really influenced me. And my mom says now that she didn't realize like how much education, how important it is, and she just didn't think she pushed me enough when I was younger. But I don't know if girls were necessarily really pushed in the direction of education either. Yeah, I don't know. And then me and my dad talk quite a lot about politics, but we're kind of on a different spectrum with each other. And I really became more interested in politics after because I joined the military myself. So basically I was doing my ironing, and I saw the airplanes flying in to the towers, and then all of a sudden it was like we were supposed to be going into Afghanistan, and then we're going to Iraq, and nothing made any sense to me. And I was thinking, you kind of join up because you want to defend your country, and then you just think that's not, Iraq's miles away from my country. I don't know how going in there is going to defend my country. So I just decided to leave, and since then I've been quite left, I think. I'm really anti-war, yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I just think it affects people too much, and it travels through generations. Like my gran went through war. She lived in Kent during the Second World War, and her street got bombed. And her sister had a massive asthma attack and actually died. So I've known people that have also been, like, I know it's a different generation, but it does affect how my gran then was with my dad. And then, I think it's just, it's just futile, basically.
But one of the thing I'm really proud of, my great-grandfather, I mean, he actually built a school in our village. That school is still there.
Oh, wow.
Still there. It's a big school now. So, like, I mean, my big sister still lives in Bangladesh. So, time to time she goes back to our village, and then,
That's such
but my sister became very well respected in Bangladesh. She's a very senior judge there. And then, so all those memories, so we did not do that bad. We did something good for, society, for our community, and try to reach those people. I mean, not me, I'm not that, I'm like my dad, I'm like, I'm a fearful person. So I fled, basically, I really want my, safe space, finding that safe space has been like a lifelong struggle for me. So I was in Australia, I was in Bangladesh, I was a civil servant there. So I had a very, decent, comfortable job. But I felt that I just don't know, like first, like my father's trauma kind of, passed on to me. And so obviously, growing up in Bangladesh, you see lots of things there. Tragedies every day. There are people, on the streets. I mean, when we talk about like poverty, I mean, people have got no idea, what does it mean, like, being poor in Bangladesh or India. Basically, you will have nothing. You have nothing. You don't know whether you will get your next meal. There's no guarantee. So,
and that's violence, isn't it? It's a form of violence.
I mean, it's a violence. I mean, it's a serious violence. Still, like, we're talking about, 5-6 million people die every year just from extreme hunger. Just from extreme hunger.
And then Bangladesh is also have to be responsible for the Rohingya people as well. So
so we have got now 1.2 million Rohingya people who pushed out from their own country and then told them that you actually belong to Bangladesh because you don't look like us.
Honestly, awful because like that's one of the poorest countries in the whole world, and they're expected to deal with this refugee crisis. It's just horrendous. I don't know why the world can't be a bit
I
more.
mean, me and one of my colleagues from another university, we are writing a paper on this because I mean, this whole idea about this refugee crisis, what they do, the international community or international agencies or all those institutions, they tend to put pressure on the host country rather than the country their their origin from, because pressure is on
Okay.
Bangladesh that oh you're not taking care of them much, but
How can they? Yeah.
the people, the original country who created this problem, and
Hmm.
I'm not telling other examples, but you can assume what are those
Hmm.
examples. There are lots of examples around the world. So the host country ended up with like like taking serious amount of burden, and then pressure kind of builds on the host country rather than the country of the origin. Uh,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
so we are not going for any kind of structured conversation. So I mean, it's fine. No, we are just telling our stories. You worked in.
Yeah, so I worked for Oxfam for quite a few years. I kind of left after the scandal with Haiti, so that was brought to attention. It affected quite a lot of people that worked there that were also volunteers for the charity as well, and it just put a real big dampener on what Oxfam can achieve, with collective action and. They had quite good way of kind of pressuring the government, and trying to get poverty issues sorted out. So yeah, I worked for Oxfam, and I really enjoyed the people I worked with. Before that, I was kind of feeling a bit low, but I think once you get involved with anything, kind of thinking you can make a better world, then that kind of helps your confidence and increases your health as well. Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
Oxfam is quite a big organization. It's one of those heavyweights in terms of the charity and around the world. So we are not going for any kind of making critique of Oxfam or not. I'm like more interested in like in your work. I mean, what's the any good memories working on the ground?
So yeah, we got to go to like a Coldplay concert. We got in there for free, but we were basically just kind of going around, getting people to understand with the Syrian refugee crisis, and how much actually refugees we do take in compared to other places in the world, and trying to get them to sign. So there's interesting conversations, and it's just mainly about raising awareness. A lot of people don't understand what the situation is. So just that was really positive, and I think having Coldplay,
I'm actually a big fan of Chris Martin.
yeah, he's awesome.
It's such a
But yeah,
good singer, isn't it? Um, but I don't know. Like I mean, my students never liked Coldplay. I mean, they're always made fun of me. That Coldplay,
oh really?
no. But I think Chris Martin is brilliant. I mean, beautiful, beautiful voice, and also, I think songs are brilliant, lyrics are very good. But also, I think he has got lots of personal issues as well, so which I can also relate. I think he struggles with his sleep as well. So the people who struggles with sleep, I've got full sympathy for them.
Oh,
Com-
definitely. You need sleep, don't you? Yeah.
yeah.
And we also done another place. We went somewhere in Glasgow, and we were there for the weekend. And we were just again, it was stand as one, with refugees basically, and a lot of people. I don't know if you've heard of the charity Refugee.
Yeah.
Uh, that's set up by Selena Hales. She was amazing. Like I got to meet her as well, and there was a lot of Syrian refugees that were there who I got to speak to like personally, and they only got here like because of just I don't know, like luck. Some of it's luck, just because they were working in journalism, but then their families were not able to get over, and you just realize that the poorest people have no chance, basically, or the people that don't have the access. Yeah, they're just stuck in a horrible war zone. And I don't know. It's just, it's really sad. But then they're also really resilient as well. So yeah, I was really like emotionally, really connected. Something inside me just made me think that, you know, you need to. It's not like where you're born. You know, it's not your fault where you're born at all, and everyone needs to come together. Yeah, to help everybody. So yeah.
I mean, because I was involved in all those like Syrian refugee campaign in Dundee. I mean, historically, Dundee is very, very welcoming for refugees. We had this event on the top of the hill, you know, the Law Hill.
Yeah.
And I still remember there was like candlelight kind of vigil on the top of the mountain. And we all went there. It was a rainy day. It was like, I think it was winter, and also it was dark. So I took my two young children. So we're talking about 2015. So like my youngest one is very young. So she's like 6 years old or 5 years old. And then normally you can take your car up to the hill. But on that particular day, that road was closed. So basically, there's a stair. So you have to take the stair and then go up to it. It's not a long, you know, trail. So you can go there very straight away, 10, 15 minutes. Obviously, it was rainy, you know, it was like dark. So my youngest daughter was really, really scared that she says that she won't go up to the hill because it's dark, and she's afraid of slugs as well, because you know Dundee has got lots of slugs in the rainy day. I mean, she was terrified. She was terrified, and like you know, I was like almost like carrying her with me. And then I told this story to another charity event I went. I was telling this like very personal story. So my youngest daughter was extremely fearful to go up to this hill. This is the safest hill. There's nothing to be afraid of. You know, no one will die by going up to this hill, or slug will not kill you. But I sensed a terrified daughter. And I felt bad about that I was almost like forcing her to come with me. If you compare this, when parents took their children, those Syrian refugees, took their children on a boat, dinghy boat, and plan is to cross the Mediterranean, that's a serious undertaking, isn't it? That's a real danger. There's a chances are extremely high that the boat will capsize, people will die, and then you can see that you are parents and you are taking your children on that boat.
Yeah.
I was very distraught, taking my kid up to the hill. But you can see, you had the choice that either you die, stay in Syria or in Turkey, or cross the Mediterranean with a dinghy boat.
It's just, yeah.
So
it's just awful, isn't it?
I mean, you can see that when parents do those things, I think that understanding. When we don't have that understanding, I think then it shows the vacuousness of our existence, isn't it? So if we don't connect those feelings, I don't think we are civilized. I don't feel like we are civilized.
I think that's the good thing about novels, that really helps humanity. If and stories and films, that helps you think about it on a different level. And if you can think about it from your own perspective and how you would feel, then you can see how they feel, and it's like a real human connection, isn't it? No matter where you are in the world. I think that's an important story there.
But again, you can see the fear of unknown, and if the fear, is told again and again that there is a fear, there is existential fear, and then people become fearful. without
Yeah.
knowing the actual.
It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yeah, I was
Fear.
doing some evening class those days in 2015, 14. So during that time, lots of this like refugees movement coming to UK and other places. So I had this like very mature student, and he was saying that he's really afraid of these refugees. He thought that his children's lives would be at risk because he heard lots of bad things about these refugees.
Yeah, the media's not helpful though, is it either?
No, I just don't know like what to tell him. I mean, it's a similar story. I went to Sweden, and then I met this like random person in the train. He's a pensioner, and he was telling me. So we were just like talking a bit, Went for a conference there in like Uppsala University, and then he just like brought up this like refugee crisis, because Sweden is also panicked with the refugee crisis suddenly, and again the media is always it's not helpful there either. So he was telling me this story. He was saying that we are pensioners, we don't have much money, and then my country is borrowing lots of money, and then they're putting all those refugees in a five-star hotel. How to
I
respond
mean,
those things? I
yeah.
mean, do you see? So it's a fear. It's a like irrational fear. You cannot solve those things through like normal conversation. Did you see? It's a very deep cut, and then when a whole society kind of has that deep cut, it's difficult to like reconcile that position. Some of the things are just basic. I mean, a country borrows money. It's normal. Every country borrows money. America
Yeah, I
has
know.
been borrowing money, over the years, like billions of dollars. Nothing happened to America. And the good news is, if you are a powerful country, good country, rich country, you can always borrow money.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're fine.
But we have been
Yeah,
borrowing money throughout your history. It's
I
not a,
know.
it's not a news. It's just normal, standard procedure. But now it becomes that, oh my God, my country is borrowing money. Did you see, in a personal level, if you borrow money, that's not good for you. But if you,
Everyone.
but if a country borrows money, country normally borrows money all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's better than austerity measures anyway. That kills
Yeah, so
people.
like austerity is just like, I mean, with me, austerity is just violence against poor people.
Oh, definitely.
So
Yeah, you
because
need
the
to be
country
better.
all can always borrow money, can always borrow money. And the countries like UK or Sweden or like Japan or like America, when they borrow money, they've got a very, very small interest rate they have to pay. It's not like Bangladesh, because Bangladesh cannot borrow money, because banks will not give money to Bangladesh. They will give money and then ask that, okay, you know what, you have to pay 10% interest.
That's awful.
With UK, it's almost nothing, because they know that the money will be back to the bank,
Yeah.
guaranteed. Uh, so these are just basic economics. When I was just listening to another podcast, like one of those guys I really follow, his name is, he's Indian leftist academic. His name is Vijay Prasad. So he was telling this because they run a like research center, and one of the things they found is, the safe havens for the tax,
Yeah.
safe haven, how much money is actually sitting in the tax haven. Do you know how much money?
I don't want to know about how much.
Is $32 trillion. $32 trillion.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh my.
1,000 billion makes 1 trillion.
That just money, I can't comprehend it. That
I
much
mean,
money.
did you see?
But it's only money. Like, money is just used for exchange. So why do you need that much money somewhere?
With $32 trillion, you can have, everyone has got a nice house, free health system, the
Yeah,
finest schools, finest libraries, everything is the finest you can get.
I
Um,
know.
it's just insane.
Well, there's no money apparently anywhere, but then there's
But I mean, some
suddenly,
people can actually really, did serious capital flight to safe havens. Like, it's not like $1 or $2 billion. It's like $32 trillion. I mean, you can say, I think that extreme poverty, if you want to get rid of extreme poverty, you need, I think it's 175 billion. So even if it is $175 billion for next 20 years, we can get rid of the whole poverty from the world. So if you like multiply 175, like make it like $200 billion a year. So that's like 20 years. 20 years is like, it's like $4 trillion, around $4 trillion. So we can just borrow that 4 trillion from the 32 trillion. Still, there will be $28 trillion. So the 6 million people die every year from extreme poverty, extreme hunger.
So where, like, are the people's values that are doing this? Where is that? I don't understand why be so greedy and where that comes from. You know, I don't understand that at all. And then how it's allowed to happen. You know, if we don't pay our taxes, we're chased up. You know, so I don't know. This is really sad, isn't it?
See, like another funny story I tell is like, this Myanmar. Myanmar is one of my area. I am kind of call myself an expert. Like there are like 3 army generals in like Myanmar's history. Basically, they more or less were in charge of the country for last 50, 60 years. The second general who was in power since 1992 up to 2011, his grandson actually put a bid to buy Manchester United club with $1 billion.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. Did the population know that? Because that is crazy.
I mean, we're talking about like the Myanmar has got like, 39% like poverty. People are under extreme poverty. So,
I mean,
and the worst thing is, I mean, the bid happened when there was a huge cyclone hit Bay of Bengal, and that affected also Myanmar. And basically, Myanmar was looking for some kind of bailout from World Bank, around $1 billion, which is basically the exact same money his grandson put a bid for Manchester United.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy.
I mean, that's the story. That's the story of the powerful and the rich. So, like, I mean, what can you do? I mean, but I think the part of the problem is that the mass people. I think we are powerful, isn't it? We are powerful. Millions of people. If you look at India, this like farmers movement, this farmers strike happening right now. In like November, do you know how many people did strike? That's the world's history. They made a history. 250 million people.
Wow.
Were on strike on that day. The farmers are facing this existential crisis. And since 1991, like I think the figure is like over 100,000 farmers actually committed suicide since 1991.
Oh my goodness.
It's just, total hopelessness. There's nothing there for the farmers. There's no protection there. So obviously over the years, the government tried to do some kind of protection for the farmers. And now with this Modi government, try to pass some 3-4 bills, basically, getting rid of those kind of protections.
Why?
Because you have to monetize grains. I mean, it's not coincidence because also, before the bill passed, India's lots of billionaires bought lots of silos, where you can stack all those grains, silos. I mean, why the billionaires were like buying all those silos? And then the government was trying to pass bill which will undermine those like farmers' rights, farmers' protections.
So do you think the government's pressured by billionaires then, basically?
I mean, there's a huge market there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huge market. So if you can get rid of the protection, then more or less the farmers have to fight with those, the serious kind of competition in the world. And you can see that the problem is the food industry. If you look at the European Union's agricultural, this subsidies, we're talking about billions of dollars. There's no chance any poor farmers in India can fight against this competition because price is so low here because of the subsidies. I think it's close to $100 billion agricultural subsidy in Europe.
Oh, wow.
In America, over the 50 years, we are talking about trillions of dollar subsidies to protect the farmers. Did you see?
Yeah.
But for the Indian farmers, there is no protection. It doesn't make any sense. So there is no protection for, the farmers in Brazil or like in Africa. So it's not
Hmm.
equal game everywhere.
No, not at all.
Uh,
Do you think like corporate responsibility is it going to be a thing, or do you think it's just rhetoric? You know, like
no,
you do say like,
I think, I mean, that's one of the story I tell even to my students. During the slavery stopped because of not of the goodwill from House of Lords or our Parliament or it's because of the resistance from the slaves themselves. You
yeah,
see, so what's happening now is the farmers are putting the resistance that will change,
uh-huh,
not that goodwill from the corporations or the rich people. No, is the actual resistance from the ground because they
but we're
can they can control the labor. Did you see?
yeah,
If,
but like we're more of an individualistic society in the UK, so collective action is a bit more difficult, isn't it? I
but
don't
I mean,
know.
you never know because you need those moments where you suddenly find that it's, if you look at the coronavirus situation, it
Hmm.
more or less exposed our more or less civilization, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole the travesty of being civilized. So you can see, like, so when you talk about this, like, flatten the curve during the coronavirus, what does it mean? It means, I mean, the state doesn't expect that everyone will get sick at the same time because we don't
Hmm.
have the capacity to take care of all the patients,
Uh-huh.
because the health system is almost like built on around the world. Its health system is totally like monetized.
Hmm.
So it's like kind of landlord. Landlord doesn't want their flats to be empty all the time
No.
because then they will lose money. Same with hospitals. They will not make unnecessary extra bed because extra bed, if it is empty, because it's like
Money.
monetized, they'll not make money.
Uh-huh.
But the
Okay.
problem is when things happen like this tsunami, like coronavirus, the surge, and suddenly the whole system just collapses because they're not
Hmm.
ready for this, because it's
No.
built on it built on, you see, this like monetization of like health system.
So it doesn't matter about life really.
Suddenly, just look at India right now. I mean, it's just like unbelievable story unfolding right now.
Hmm.
It's just the monetization of the health system. Look at, like, even like my country, Bangladesh, has got serious problem. Hardly any, the people are tweeting, like putting things on the social media. They want a hospital bed. Please, can you give my family a hospital bed? Once, did you see, everyone thinks that, yeah, we have to go back to the normal. But the normal is broken, did you see? And then this
Yeah.
coronavirus more or less exposed this broken system totally.
Hmm.
So this is normal we're talking about, This normal cannot take care of, people's lives.
Do you think this has given us time to reflect as a society on
So I
how to change?
mean, I mean that's the biggest hope, because this system cannot take care of this surge. Unexpected things can happen and then just totally falls apart.
Yeah, definitely. But
Because I
I don't
so
know
like part of the
if.
thing is, like things like this like food safety or like health safety.
Hmm.
I mean, you just cannot monetize these things. This is humanity, isn't it? These are
Yeah.
human rights. These are just basic underlying, things you need to become a human being, Homo sapien.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
This is just like common decency. Um, so what we saw last 1 year, I think, you can see like what happened.
Mm.
And and if we took care of those things, the health system and our education system, then no, we could have handled the situation much better way.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
you see,
But
so like people like me, I'm not hopeful about going back to the normal because I saw normal is not fit for the purpose. Normal is not for everyone.
No.
You see, I don't know. Like sometimes I get like hopeful, sometimes I get frustrated, pessimistic. But I think I really have the confidence in the collective struggle. Normal is dysfunctional. So if you need to protect our humanity, I think so that's the thing, that's the collective struggle that is the society or the institutions or any kind of business model, that the humanity should be in the forefront.
Yeah.
So the things I talked with you today, I mean, these are just simple facts. I mean, these are very, very simple facts. But the problem is, I mean, not many people know about these things. The things happen in their names. I mean,
Yeah.
and then people become, patriot or like, all those things,
Yeah.
and then really want to protect their border or protect their home or
Yeah.
if everyone has got a decent country, everyone has got a decent home, then no one needs to protect their home. So that's the alarm for 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been really nice talking.
But it's possible, that we just need to have the confidence in the mass people, and that's important. If the mass people understand that they have the power and they can change things for everyone. I think like part of me is like, I think these stories are important, isn't it? So even my story, my father's story, these are powerful story to tell. And I think everyone has got lots of story to tell, powerful stories. And if you can, collect all those powerful stories together, we can write our own powerful story, a collective story.
Definitely. Well, thank
So
you.
we've got like limited time today, but next time we'll talk more because you have got lots of interest in music. I've got lots of interest in film. We can talk. We can do one session with our films, and we can make a list of our 10 top films, and you
Yeah, no,
you'll
that's
make a
good.
list of your like 10 top songs.
Okay.
Okay.
And books as well.
Yeah, and books as well. Yeah.
What's your favorite novel? I'm just going to ask you. I don't know who got one, but just quickly.
My favorite novel. I mean, my all-time favorite is like Albert Camus. So Albert Camus, the famous novel called The Stranger.
Oh, I've got that. I need to read that
So
actually.
it's a French book. So the other name is The Outsider. So I'm quite fascinated by Albert Camus, his life, his like his idea about this absurdity of the whole thing. He's a like total rebel. So like I think everyone needs to read Albert Camus, the myth of Sisyphus, things like that. So the Plague is also very good.
I read that one. That's
Plague
the only one I've read, but that was amazing.
The
Really
Plague
good.
is really, really good. So obviously, like Lew Tolstoy is very good. War and Peace, I'll always recommend. It's a big book. So if you cannot read the book, watch the film. There's a film on this.
Okay.
Audrey Hepburn was there. It was a long film. I think it's almost 5 hours long. I think Albert Camus actually told this thing, because of this our existence, the absurdity of our existence. We are just like bunch of animals living together, and then and just gone, and then we do all kind of stuff, fight, like squabble, and then we just like gone. No one cares. So he thinks that out of this absurdity, the only thing can make you happy or make you keep going is art. So art can be a good painting, art can be a good film, a good book, good fiction, good poem. So those things like give us some kind of I don't know, some kind of meaning to
Yeah.
this meaningless life. If you can find happiness through art, I'm just not sure. I think that makes you really, really like better understanding about your existence.
Definitely.
I think you find some kind of peace with yourself.
Definitely.
So with that positive note, we can stop here today, and then we'll come back and then talk about
Yeah, definitely.
about the art.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. Okay.
And nice to meet you. Take
Speak
care.
soon.
Have a nice day.
Okay, you take care of yourself. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.